Let's see the meaning and definition of personality. Different individuals react and respond differently to the same situation under the same conditions. The way an individual reacts to a situation differentiates him from the other individuals. This is unique to an individual. This specific combination of emotional, attitudinal, and behavioral response patterns of an individual is called personality. It is a sum of characteristic patterns of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors which make the individual unique. It is the identity of an individual. The subject of personality is not new to psychology. It is one of the widely studied areas of psychology. Its study has a broad and varied history in psychology, consisting of many theories explaining the concept of personality. In fact, the study of personality dates back to the age of Hippocrates. Before we study the concept of personality in depth, it's all the more important to learn the meaning of personality. We shall also understand the various definitions of personality. We shall also see how the study of personality helps a trainee teacher. What is the meaning of personality? The word personality originates from the Latin word persona. Persona in Latin means mask. In theatres of ancient Latin-speaking world, the word mask was used to represent a role or a character. Its intention was not to disguise the identity of that role. Like every character in a drama has features typical to it, so is the personality of an individual. It also owes its origin to the Middle English and Middle French word personnalité. This personality is that unique set of characters possessed by a person which influences his or her responses in various situations. Personality is that pattern of characteristic thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that distinguishes one person from another. It persists over time and situations. Let us see the characteristics of personality. So, what exactly makes up a personality? As described, one would expect that traits and patterns of thought and emotion make up an important part. Some of the other fundamental characteristics of personality include consistency. There is generally a recognizable order and regularity to behavior. Essentially, people act in similar ways in a variety of situations. The twin facets of psychology and physiology. Research suggests that personality is not only made of psychological but also biological components. It impacts behavior and action. Personality does not just influence how we move and respond in our environment, it also causes us to act in certain ways. Personality has multiple expressions. Personality is displayed in more than just behavior. It can also be seen in our thoughts, feelings, close relationships, and other social interactions. There are 5 factors determining personality types. These are called the Big Five. They are: first, openness, which is an appreciation of a variety of experiences. Secondly, it is conscientiousness, which is more like planning ahead rather than being spontaneous. Next, we have the extraversion, which involves going out with friends and being energetic. Agreeableness is, as it says, being likable or easygoing. In other words, agreeable. Finally, we have neuroticism, referring to worrying or being vulnerable. A personality test assesses how much of each of these 5 factors a person possesses. There are many different personality types. It is sometimes difficult to classify a person into a single type, as there are many different personality traits one can possess. The specific composition in which the above factors are present is what makes an individual's personality unique. Personality versus temperament and character. Having gained a brief sense of what personality is, it may be helpful to compare the concept to other similar concepts. 2 concepts that quickly come to mind are temperament and character. In everyday language, these terms are sometimes used more or less interchangeably with personality. Historically, they have often been used in context of the term personality. Within psychology, however, they have distinct meanings. Temperament usually refers to those aspects of psychological individual traits that are present at birth or at least very early on in child development. They are related to emotional expression and are presumed to have a biological basis. Character, on the other hand, usually refers to those personal attributes that are relevant to moral conduct, self-mastery, willpower, and integrity. So, how do psychologists define personality? There are different definitions of personality proposed by different psychologists. According to Morton Prince, personality is the sum total of all the biological innate dispositions, impulses, tendencies, aptitudes, and instincts of the individual and the acquired disposition and tendencies. In 1997, Funder defined it as individuals' characteristic patterns of thought, emotion, and behavior together with the psychological mechanisms, hidden or otherwise, behind those patterns. In 1974, Fromm defined personality as the totality of individual psychic qualities, which includes temperament, one's mode of reaction, and character. In 1951, Murray defined personality as the biological governing organ or superordinate institution of the body as it is located in the brain. In short, no brain, no personality. In 1959, Guilford said that personality is a person's unique pattern of traits. Cartwright, in the year 1979, defined personality as the record of a person's experiences and behavior together with the psychological systems which contribute causal determination to the existing and functioning record. Some causal determination is found within the record itself. Hall, Colvin, and Gardner in the year 1985 said that personality is the impression a person makes on others. It refers to his or her social skills, charismatic qualities, and the like. In the year 1990, Berger defined personality as the individual's unique and relatively stable patterns of behavior, thoughts, and emotions. According to Feldman, personality is the stability in people's behavior that leads them to act uniformly in different situations and over extended periods of time. In 1937, Allport defined personality as what a man really is. This statement indicates that personality is the typical and peculiar characteristics of a person. In 1961, he modified it to define as a dynamic organization within an individual of the psychophysical system that determines his or her characteristic behavior and thought. Personality is a pattern of relatively permanent traits and unique characteristics that give both consistency and individuality to a person's behavior. Kempt has defined personality as the habitual mode of adjustment which the organism effects between its own egocentric drives and the exigencies of the environment. May and Hartshorne emphasized the social aspect. According to them, personality is that which makes one effective and give influence over others. Watson opines that personality is everything that we do. Warren finds personality as the entire mental organization of a human being at any stage of his development. Like this, there is no single definition acceptable to all personality theorists. A brief definition would be that personality is made up of the characteristic patterns of thoughts, feelings, and behavior that make a person unique. In addition to this, personality arises from within the individual and remains fairly consistent throughout life. Though psychologists differ in defining personality, they agree to certain common basics. One common fact is that personality itself is unique. Second fact is that it is a dynamic organization of all the various psychological and physical traits. The definitions of personality imply that when compared to psychologists in other subfields of psychology, personality psychologists have to explain the whole person's history of the concept of personality. The study of personality has a long history. Since ancient times, humans have sought to explain behavior by categorizing personalities into distinct types. Personality assessments have been developed over the past several centuries to describe certain aspects of a person that remain stable throughout a lifetime. For instance, the individual's characteristic pattern of behavior, thoughts, and feelings. Plato explained the human soul as a seat of personality. He said that soul consists of three basic forces guiding human behavior, namely reason, emotion, and appetite. Aristotle, one of Plato's students and the teacher of Alexander the Great, referred to the seat of personality as the psyche. He distinguished that the psyche includes three faculties which he organized in a hierarchy of importance. The first faculty is nutritive, which is human organism's basic drive to meet bodily needs. The next and higher faculty is perceptual, which is the ability of mind to interpret sensory data. The last and the highest faculty is intellectual, which is unique to human beings alone. Niccolo Machiavelli, a Florentine diplomat and political thinker, believed that personality is best understood in a social context. He saw two primary forces as defining human character. The first one is an almost untranslatable Italian term, virtù, which is best described as a combination of assertiveness, fearlessness, and self-confidence. He called the second force fortuna, which is the Latin word for luck. René Descartes, a French philosopher, viewed human personality as the product of the interaction between the soul and the body. Based on the observation of an anatomical dissection, he even noticed that the pineal gland at the center of brain is the point of contact of the soul and the body. This has been a very dominant view in the West after the 17th century. The first known personality model was recorded by Hippocrates, postulating that one's persona is made up of four temperaments called the four humors. Another Greek physician, Galen, extended Hippocrates' theory. He applied one body fluid to each temperament proposed by Hippocrates. These fluids are blood, mucus, black bile, and yellow bile. The fluid which was dominant was said to be the person's humor or temperament. This theory became very popular during the Middle Ages and prevailed for over a millennium. In the 19th century, Wilhelm Wundt was the first person to make a clear distinction between the human body and the personality. He expounded on the four humors theory and stated that the four temperaments were actually the four dimensions of human personality. Every individual has a typical varying proportion of two or more of these four temperaments. In the 20th century, rapid growth of the field of psychology led to an increased interest in the subject of individual personality. Different theorists proposed various concepts of personality, which, however, seem to revolve around the basic four humor, that is, the concept of Hippocrates. The significant point is that the personality and its assessment have proved it to be a point of interest for centuries. Let's look at the factors affecting personality and what exactly they are. Personality is not something passive, but a creative organization playing an active role in making adjustments to the environment around us. Both the mental as well as the bodily traits are combined dynamically in the formation of a personality. Personality is neither exclusively mental nor exclusively neural. The organization entails the operation of both body and mind in synchronization. Many factors contribute to its development. For an easy understanding of the factors that affect personality, they are broadly classified into two groups: biological factors and environmental factors. A detailed description of these factors are as follows. Biological factors include the four aspects. First, it's the heredity. It is an important factor in personality development. Personality traits, like other traits, are carried by and transmitted through genes from one generation to the other. For example, a child inherits complexion, intelligence, and so on from its parents. Next, it's the physique. Since ancient periods, it has been accepted that the physique affects personality. Physique refers to the biological makeup of an individual resulting from both genetic and environmental influences which determine his reactive potentialities. Third, we have the endocrine glands. These glands secrete hormones. Any overactivity or underactivity of these glands can cause increase or decrease in hormones, resulting in personality disorders. For example, excess of thyroxine hormone leads to tension and unstableness. Deficiency of adrenaline secretion causes fatigue, anemia, loss of appetite, and so on. The nervous system is the next. Mental abilities, sensory and motor skills are controlled by the nervous system. Now let us look at the environmental factors. The environment affects the individual almost totally except his genes. Some of the environmental factors that have to be taken into consideration while understanding the effect of environment on personality are, first and foremost, the home. Home has an immense effect on the personality development of an individual. Parents' behavior and attitude, their expectations from the child, their education and attention to the child influences the child's personality. Studies have found that children from small or medium-sized families show more adjustment than the ones from larger families. Even the economic status of the family affects the child's personality. Next, we have the school. After home, school is the next important socializing agent because the child spends a lot of time there. In school, the student comes in contact with teachers whose personality influences him or her. The student's personality is also to a great extent influenced by peer interaction. The school atmosphere and discipline of the school also influence the student's personality. Next, we have maturation. Maturation provides raw material for learning and determines to a large extent the more general patterns and sequences of the child's behavior. What about the early experiences? Personality is greatly influenced by one's early experiences. For example, a child subjected to undue discouragement at an early stage becomes self-centered later on. Success and failure, do they play a key role in determining an individual's personality? Many think so. Success motivates the individual and increases the level of aspiration, while failure leads to the development of negative traits like inferiority complex, escapism, and so on. This influences one's adjustment and self-concept about one's abilities. Thus, personality is a comprehensive concept that gives importance to the growth and development of the child as an organized whole. Let's see the significance of studying personality. Personality of an individual starts building up in the early childhood. Personality is not believed to become stable until the age of 30, but it starts building from childhood itself. Personality in childhood stage is referred to as temperament. It is regarded as precursor to personality in adulthood. Research shows that in both children and adults, genetic makeup exerts a greater influence on personality traits than environmental factors. Personality is dynamic, that is, It is constantly evolving and changing. A newborn infant lacks personality because his or her behavior keeps on changing. An infant's personality is influenced by heredity and by surrounding conditions. Personality development begins at birth and gradually unfolds until death. Some researchers have investigated to see if the happiness and outgoing nature seen in adults starts building up from the childhood stage. Findings of these researches show that high degrees of sociability and low degrees of shyness exhibited in childhood are related to being extroverts and life satisfaction in later stages. The EAS model is used to assess temperament in children. This model measures levels of emotionality, activity, sociability and shyness in children. McRae and Costa developed the Big Five model, which assesses personality traits in adults. This model measures emotionality, openness to experience, extroversion, agreeableness and conscientiousness. The EAS model in children is believed to be the equivalent of the Big Five model in adults. These researches and their findings are very helpful. They can help identifying children who are more likely to be prone to episodes of depression. They can also help in identifying the types of treatment that such children are likely to respond. Teachers in many ways are ideal judges of a child's personality. Teachers do get to know children quite well. Personality traits that teachers observe in elementary school children may predict healthy and unhealthy behavior among adults decades later on. A study was conducted on 963 grown-ups in which they were asked to fill a 16 questions questionnaire. An assessment of their behavior and health was done. These results were compared to the personality assessments made by their teachers decades ago in the elementary school stage. The assessments made by the teachers were boiled down using the Big Five model quoted earlier, which describes personality using the 5 attributes. Overall, the study found that the assessment made by the teachers at the elementary stage was a good measure of predicting the adult's personality. For example, less agreeable girls were more likely to become smokers. Emotionally unstable students were more likely to drink alcohol. Extraverted students are more likely to grow up to be healthier adults. In other words, an individual enters adolescence with personality characteristics and life experiences already accumulated during the first decade of life. Temperament observed in childhood is a strong predictor of adult behavior. This speaks about the importance of understanding personality because it follows us across time. As after home, school is the place and teachers are the ones with whom a child spends most of its time. There is a greater responsibility on teachers in molding them. A teacher can assess an alarming temperament in a child and can also play a vital role in controlling it before it turns into an unhealthy adult behavior. So, let's sum it up. As is clear, from whatever we have discussed so far, personality is a set of qualities that distinguishes a person from the other. It is the impression a person makes on others about himself or herself. Personality assessment has been a point of interest for centuries. Today, it is a $1 million industry. It is being widely employed by companies, businesses, lawyers, colleges, and whatnot to understand and analyze the people they are going to deal with. But what we have to understand here is, before the personality establishes itself to a relatively stable state, it first takes birth in an infant. Then it starts developing and evolving in children. Children spend most of the active part of their life with their teachers at school. Many of them take their teachers as role models and try to mend their ways according to the style of the teacher. Also, the teachers get to observe children and their responses in various situations. This enables them to analyze the temperament of the child, which forms the basis for the adult personality. So, the study of the concept of personality has a twofold significance in a teacher training course. First, it educates the trainee to appreciate the importance of carrying a positive personality, because it has a great influence on their students. Second, a teacher can assess the behavior of a child and predict what is going to be in adulthood. A teacher can also play a pivotal role in properly treating the negative elements in a child and creating a positive personality for the future.